Well, good morning. Let me say this, and I am very laid back. Please do not let the bow tie fool you, okay? I promise you that I promised you that I won't be up here long, won't be up here 50 minutes, and I encourage you to interact if you can with me, okay? I am Mike Shelton, and I do have a wonderful opportunity to talk to you today on a couple things. I could talk to you about leadership. I could talk to you about the Oklahoma House of Representatives. I don't know if I got that leadership thing down, but I can talk to you definitely about the House of Representatives. I know that you may not know what the House of Representatives is, but let me start by telling you a little bit about myself. I am from this area. I graduated from Millwood High School. Now, don't make that face. She turned up her lip when I said I was from Millwood. And in high school, you would think, most people think, and I don't know what you think today, but I can tell you this, what most people think. Most people think that, oh, I know he's probably a 4-point student, and he was a real good student to be where he is today. And I want to tell you my story because I think it's important, and I share it with kids more and more every year. And when I first got in, I did not share my story because I felt like, people don't want to hear that side. But I've increasingly started telling my story because I think it is extremely important that people understand making mistakes is good. Making mistakes is good because you learn from them. But I went to high school in Millwood, wasn't a good student. It's not that I did not, it wasn't that I wasn't smart or anything, it's just that I never applied myself. I did enough just to get by. And also, and I love my parents more than anything in the world, my daddy's mentality of school is, hey, you just get C's, okay? Just get by. Don't even, don't. An A is not what I'm looking for. Just get by. And so that mentality kind of, I took on that mentality. I didn't apply myself again, just enough to get by, just enough to stay eligible for football. And also, I married my 10th grade sweetheart, which I'm married to today. One thing that I had to be smart enough where mama wouldn't kick me tell her she had to kick me to the curb. So when I went to Millwood, I had two lives. I hung around a good crowd. I hung around a bad crowd. The bad crowd, of course, as you can imagine, gets you in trouble. I thought that I played football, and I thought I'd get involved in go to college somewhere. I thought I did, but I thought Bob Stoops wasn't there. It's a guy named Gary Gibbs. Y'all don't know who he is, but he was OU's coach a long time ago. I thought he was going to come knock on my door and tell me, hey, come play for OU. But I was a lot better than I thought I was, but he didn't come knocking on my door. And really, if it was not for my mom, filling out an application to a place called Langston University, I don't know if I had ever gone to school. I had already had in my mind, I said, you know what, I'm just going to go to the military. I'm just going to go to the military, and that was always my fallback plan is, hey, if it doesn't work out at this school thing, I'm going to go to the military. And when I got to Langston University, I got there and I got to Langston University in 1991. Anybody born in 1991? Oh, God. Anyway, 1991, I got to Langston University, and you know what? I got into school and I did nothing. I didn't go to class. I hung out all the time. Exactly what you think. All the experiences of college, I think that I took advantage of each and every one of them. And you know what? I got basically F's in my classes my freshman year. And you know what happens when you get F's in class in your freshman year? Can you imagine what happens? Come on, talk back to me. You flunk. You flunk and and you got to leave school, leave Langston University. And that's what I did a real good job of not doing anything. And after that opportunity I had of messing up school, I got in some trouble that summer. I got in some trouble hanging around the wrong crowd. Not legal trouble or anything, just trouble enough to say, oh my God, Lord, if you get me out of this, I won't do this ever again. And I'm sure that some of you have been in that situation. You know, when the police pull you over, you start praying, oh, please don't give me no ticket. Same situation that I had. I ended up getting in a little trouble and begging my way back to Langston University. Somebody gave me a second chance. The president of Langston University gave me a second chance to come back to school and have an opportunity to finish my degree. He only gave me one chance, but the only reason I had that second chance is because I was willing to ask. Second thing is that while I was at Langston University, a friend of mine, a counselor, and I love counselors, she says, you know what, I want you to meet one of my friends. And she was assigned to me to help me finish school. This counselor, her name is Glenda Nash. She doesn't live far away from here. She was assigned to me to help me finish school. There's a part of a program called Student Support Services. And Student Support Services, what it was put on campus to do is help first-time kids that have never had the opportunity to go to college. Their parents didn't go to college, and they come from low-income family. They work with the kid to make sure to give them every opportunity to finish school. She hooked me up with a guy named Andre Salisbury, and he is one of my best friends to this day. Andre Salisbury just happened to be the president of student body. Why she hooked him up with me when I didn't have the thought in my mind that I could do all that I was doing, that I never thought I would be in the House of Representatives. Never even crossed my mind. She hooked me up with him, and he gave me some ridiculous title, and I can't remember what it was, but ultimately my job was putting flyers up under dorm room doors. That is what my job was with the student government of Langston University. What I didn't realize is that I'm a believer that things happen for a reason. I would have never thought that that little boy that begged his way back into Langston University got an opportunity to slide flyers up under doors to tell the students what's going on with student government. That is exactly the steps I would be doing to be running for office some 15, 20 years later. I have an opportunity to anyway, while at college, I found a mentor. It just hit me one day. I said, you know what? I'm going to run for House of Representatives. I want to be a member of the House of Representatives. And so that environment on Langston University's campus just got me wondering what I want to do. I remember the day it hit me, I said, man, I'm about to really graduate. I was probably 20 or 30 hours away. I couldn't believe it. I remember that day. I found a mentor. His name's Kevin Cox. True story. And I didn't know that I was finding a mentor, but I walked into his office, and he was the state representative before me in the House of Representatives. I walked in his office, and I said, Mr. Cox, I want to run for office. And he said, first of all, you need to stay in school and finish school and get your degree. Great advice. But what he also did is allowed me to start hanging out with him and getting to know what he did. For 8 years, I graduated, and for 8 years, I hung around Representative Cox, putting out signs, doing whatever he needed to do to help him run for office. He was preparing me in things I never realized I wanted to do or realized that I would need to know. people that I would need to know. He was laying a foundation for me. The moral to that part of the story is a mentor is good. Find a mentor in a field that you are interested in. I have an opportunity to talk to you about leadership today. I've been a member of the Oklahoma House of Representatives for almost 8 years. Again, it is exceeded any expectation I had of myself at one time. I never thought I'd be here. I've tried to make the most of it, hadn't done everything right. I've made some mistakes, but it has been my purpose to help people like me, because I tried to have a mentoring program at the House of Representatives, and that mentoring program, I bring in kids that would have never, I bring in kids in high school that would never be the ones chosen for anything. That's the kind of high school student I was. I was never chosen for anything because I ultimately didn't apply myself to do better. I wasn't a great college student either. However, I did figure out what hard work was. I have to work to get A's. I had to work to get B's. I wasn't as smart as somebody, but I did marry the valedictorian of my class, and so marry smart, okay? That's the moral of the story. That is the moral of my story. And I did write a speech for you, but my wife, I read it to her last night. She says it's inappropriate for the group, so just talk to them. Can you give me what your image of leadership is? I'm going to get you a little interactive here because I see a couple sleepy faces. So what do you think is the most important element of being a good leader? Anybody?
Honesty.
Honesty. Integrity. That's a great word. Anything else? Trustworthy.
Setting good examples.
Setting good examples. Living the message that you're trying to give. That's exactly right. How many of you believe that it's important to be a good follower? By a show of hands. How many of you,
Depending on who there is to follow.
That's right, that's right. But how many people believe that to be a good leader, you have to be a good follower? Show of hands. One thing a lot of people do is make a huge mistake about leadership. One of those major mistakes they make is that they think people that look at leaders think that the leader knows everything. That is not true. Leaders that think they know everything are absolutely, typically ineffective. A good leader puts people around them that have the expertise, and they're not intimidated by people that are potentially smarter than them. Case in point, politicians are some of the dumbest people I've ever met in my entire life, and that is the truth. And I shouldn't say dumbest. Let me say this. Let me be a little bit more politically correct. They're not dumb. They're just not smart. But what they do have is people around them to tell them, hey, this is what you need to say, or this is how you need to handle situations. You would talk to a politician and they think that they would have every answer to every question, but can't solve simple problems. That's true. Is everybody awake? Everybody awake? Mm-hmm. All right. We need to liven it up a little bit. Anyway, it is extremely important. It's extremely important to be a good follower. And understand this, is that you might not be the leader on everything when you're trying to accomplish certain things. What you do is you find the best person to lead. Now, there's a saying that says, if somebody calls himself a leader and there's nobody behind them, they are simply on a walk and not leading. I think that the number one thing to leadership personally is building relationships. And I know that you all have heard a lot of these things over the years, but it is so important to build relationships like this young lady said, is honesty and integrity, building trust like this young man said, with people around you so that they can ensure, so they have the faith that you're going to do the right thing. You got to live your message. Somebody said something about message. I can't remember. This young lady said something about message right here. But you have to live your message. You can't say, oh, I'm a leader, and then you're doing the opposite. Do as I say and not as I do mentality. Now, let me say this. You don't want to see your pastor or leader of a church or something like that saying, oh, you need to live right and confess your sins, and then he's dropping it like it's hot in the club. You just don't want to see that, right? Come on now, talk back to me. Just nod your head or something. In your life, you're here at Career Tech, Metro Tech, and you're asked a lot, but ultimately you're going to have to figure out all on your own to get up in the morning, to do what you got to do. I'm going to ask you a simple question. What is your purpose? I have a purpose when I get up. I have a purpose when I get up as a member of the House of Representatives. The thing that gets me out of bed every day, the intent of what I try to accomplish every day. I work every day for trying to improve the lives of everybody. Everybody, all people, not rich, not poor, everybody. I am trying to help those that have been just felt left out. That is my purpose. Every day I work to try to help somebody improve their life one day at a time, just a little bit. That is what I get out of bed for. Now, I have a lot of people that I work with on an everyday basis, in corrections issues and DHS issues. And I didn't even talk about what I do as a House of Representatives, and I'll talk about that in a second. But man, you wouldn't think how small you can just help somebody to change their life, to give them a better perspective on life. In the House of Representatives, what we do is ensure that you all have the money to go to school. We make sure your teachers are paid. The teachers don't make enough money, and we need to make sure that our teachers make more money. I just want to say that. We need to make sure our teachers make more money. But they are committed to you. The legislature passes laws from anything that you can imagine. The legislature up at the state capitol. How many of you been to the state capitol before? I'm inviting the rest of you. I'm inviting the rest of you to the state capitol. We pass laws on absolutely everything that you can imagine. Now, let me just share a couple bad laws that we passed this past year. Basically, we passed a law basically saying if you're a third grader and cannot read to grade level, they're going to start holding all kids back. That's one of the bad laws we passed. All right. They also passed a law recently. If you look like you're a gang member, this is true. We passed it. It is signed into law. If you look like a gang member and somebody in your school, don't matter who, the person that cleans the building, the cafeteria worker, the teacher, the groundskeeper, if they think that you look like a gang member, fit the profile, they must report it to the superintendent, and the superintendent must report it to the law enforcement. if you look like it. That's a law in the state of Oklahoma. We just passed that. Go ahead.
What does a gang member look like?
That's my question. There's and that's the problem. That's the problem with that piece of legislation. And let me just add this to you. A legislator from Duncan, Oklahoma, passed that piece of legislation. There's no, huh? I don't know what's in Duncan, but you know what? Man, now I know what to talk about to get y'all active. That's all right. That's all right. But let me say this, that's state law now. And you know, this hip hop culture, the baggy pants and all that, seeing some, if you looked at it the wrong person, just wearing your pants baggy means that you're in a gang. If you're wearing your hat to the side, it means you're a gang. There's no definition, and that's the sad thing. I didn't say we did everything right. I just said that we pass laws that affect everything in your lives. Now let me just share this with you. Last year, the state's going through some budget crisis. And what they said is that schools could decide to buy new books or not buy new books. You can continue to use old books. We passed that law. It's going to be up to the schools to buy new books. Again, that affects you. You didn't know it, but there's stuff that's passed that affects your life every day at that Capitol. And you should you should know about it. You should get involved in it. How should you get involved in it? Is that you should know people that represent you up at that Capitol. Each and every one of you all have people in your areas that represent you. I was elected, this is my area, District 97. I represent 37,000 people. And my district has boundaries. I have everything east of Broadway Extension. It goes up to Turner Turnpike, all the way out to Henny Road, which is out in Jones, Choctaw, and Nakoma Park. My southern district is 10th Street, 10th Street all the way to Post Road. And everybody in that area, I wish I could say everybody doesn't vote for me, but everybody in this area votes to put their elected official in office. You with me? Come on, give me a head nod or something. Okay. It's important that you know that these things are going on, not only in the state of Oklahoma, but nationally. You hear a lot of conversation about, oh, we need tax breaks and or increased taxes. Some people say we need tax breaks. Some people say leave it alone. Well, let me just share this with you. And I will not get too deep on taxes. Matter of fact, I'm going to stay away from taxes because that really puts you to sleep. But I want to tell you this, is that in Washington, D.C., right now, they are trying and have cut your ability to go to school. How did they do that? They cut the amount of money they put into Pell Grants, which allow you to go further your education here at Metro Tech, or if you decide to go somewhere else, a university or something like that. They have done that. So it makes it a little harder for average people to go to school. Anyway, let me say this, because I'm losing you, and I don't want to lose you. I have a 10-minute video I want to show. And it's important that you just pay attention to it. And I'm going to say a couple of words to you afterwards. But I want to make something real clear. Is that people have, I'm sure you have, and you have, all of us have stories. And man, you beat down, you can't figure out why life has dealt you a bad card. You cannot figure out why the things are why the things they are, your mama, your daddy, your grandma, whatever the situation, your brothers and sisters haven't been there for you the way they have. But you have to persevere in motivation. Now, I told you earlier that I have a motivation to get out of bed every day. My family, of course, is one of them. My purpose to help people. But there's a friend I want to introduce you to, and she is my dear, dear, dear friend. And we met several years ago, but I want to share her story with you. And she's the strongest person I've ever met in my life. And I want you, after that, to compare your stories to her. Okay? It's about 10 minutes. Don't go to sleep. All right? Let's play it. Raina DeBose. And her name's Raina DeBose.
Senior night for the Virginia Tech Hokies, the last home game of the women's basketball season. And a chance for the team's biggest fans to show up for one last time this year. But removed from the cheering and the Hokie spirit is one fan with a story simply worlds apart from all the others.
And a move in a lane and another basket by DuBose.
When we first met Raina DeBose back in 2001, the 6'3" center was a freshman and a budding star on Coach Bonnie Hendrickson's team. How good was she as a player?
Very good, very explosive. It could face the basket and knock down a shot, but could also handle herself with her back to the basket. Most young post players don't have that ability, and she did.
Raina had set a scoring record at her high school in Columbia, Maryland, and she only got better during her first college season.
How much do you love basketball?
I love it a lot.
What were you best in basketball?
Being a good team leader. I always tried to help other people.
I think that's a good answer, but I also think you're being modest.
But no one will ever know just how good she might have become. For suddenly, unexpectedly, her whole life changed. The trouble started at a postseason workout.
And I just remember standing in the circle with the girls and just feeling lightheaded and dizzy and getting hot flashes. I could barely make it up the steps and down the hall.
Raina passed out and was rushed to the hospital.
They had taken some blood tests. They couldn't find anything. They were flu-like symptoms, that she was dehydrated, and they had given her a bag and a half of an IV.
Doctors eventually determined that Raina had contracted a deadly bacterial infection.
The bacteria that cause meningococcal meningitis can be stopped by antibiotics. But if treatment is delayed, organs fail, blood vessels collapse, and the patient can die within hours. By the time that Raina DeBose was correctly diagnosed, she was almost dead.
Raina had so many situations and problems that it was like a shopping list of things that we had to overcome. You know, from a heart attack, from lung problems, for failure with her liver, her kidneys went down completely.
Raina's parents, Willie and Andrea DeBose, rushed from their home in Maryland to be with their daughter, who was airlifted to the hospital at the University of Virginia.
We got to UVA, and the doctors there said that she, the sickest person in Virginia, and, they weren't giving us any, oh, don't worry, she'll make it, they didn't give us that at all. Raina was sick.
Raina fell into a coma and lay there for 3 weeks near death. Then one day, Coach Hendrickson noticed a small sign of life.
Her tongue was moving around her, all the tubes in her mouth. I said, if you know who I am, stick your tongue out. She stuck her tongue out.
We were jumping. we were just, screaming with so much enthusiasm. Yeah. We were high-fiving. It was like we were at a basketball game.
Did your parents tell you then how close you'd come to death?
Yeah.
What does that make you feel to have cheated death like that?
Lucky.
Lucky, of course, that she was alive. But unfortunately, a terrible new reality began to set in for Raina.
When I first saw Raina, it was clear that she would lose her hands and feet.
What Dr. Adam Katz found was that the meningitis had prevented blood from circulating to Raina's limbs. The result was gangrene.
The big question to me was how high up her arms and legs it would have to be.
Sadly, Raina endured 10 operations as doctors gradually removed her arms 4 inches below the elbows and her legs 6 inches below the knees.
Were you ever scared?
Probably when it first happened. It was a shock. I was thinking, well, what am I going to do without my hands and feet?
She was very, very sad. Very, very sad.
There were days she wouldn't talk.
Ever question, why us? Why is this happening to our daughter?
Honestly, yes, I did. You know, you always hear people say you never ask why. But yeah, I did ask why. And I was very angry.
But doctors designed a grueling rehab regimen for Raina to increase her flexibility and strengthen her remaining muscles. 4 months after her amputations, Raina's damaged tissue had healed so that at last she was strong enough to be fitted for prosthetics. Raina's high-tech artificial limbs were paid for by her own insurance and by a fund set up by Virginia Tech at a cost of more than $100,000. With the help of her therapist and family, Raina regained her independence by relearning to perform many of the simple daily tasks that we take for granted.
Oh, there you go. All right.
But I can't wake up the back.
I'm going to help you get up.
In less than 6 months after the amputations, she was ready to try and walk again.
There you go.
Oh, my gosh.
The fan's a little too close to my head.
Then Raina embarked on what would be an even bigger step. Instead of running away from basketball, she was ready to return.
Raina! Okay, let's do this cheek now.
She came back to Virginia Tech and was reunited with her whole basketball family for the first time since she'd passed out.
Go!
On 3, we love Raina. 1, 2, 3. We love Raina! Yeah, girl!
Ladies and gentlemen, please direct your attention to the field for a special recognition ceremony.
That same weekend, Virginia Tech honored Raina during football homecoming festivities.
Welcome back to campus, Raina DuBose.
When you first started walking, can you compare it to doing something that you did as a kid for the first time, like riding a bike? Is it like that?
No, it's better.
Better. Is it better than anything you ever did in basketball?
Yeah, probably.
It gave me a brand new perspective on life. Things that I used to think was important doesn't matter. She's a great inspirator.
No.
She inspires me daily. You know, when I think I got a problem, I don't have a problem.
Have you ever said, why me?
Yes, but then I realized that there's really no point in asking anymore because it's over with. And I just realized that I just have to get on with my life. I can't just sit and cry and dwell over what's missing now.
Today, it's been more than 6 years since we last spoke with Raina, and we've learned that what's missing now is really nothing at all.
A BlackBerry. Tiny, exquisite, right?
Right.
Very, very difficult to manage, and you can do it.
Yeah, this is like my little best friend here.
When you think, what I lost, what did you lose? Yes, you lost your arms, you lost your legs. Did you lose anything else?
No, I would say I gained a lot more respect for myself.
You gained?
Yeah.
Not lost?
No, I don't believe I lost anything. This whole opportunity is just giving me a chance to see how far I can push myself, you know, what I can and cannot do.
These days, there's not much she can't do. Raina lives like most 25-year-olds do, in her own home, managing the same responsibilities as any other young adult. And she's figured out ways to perfect an everyday routine by creating her very own techniques.
When I last saw you, you're in a wheelchair, you seemed completely intimidated by what lay ahead of you. How amazing does it feel to be so completely independent now?
That is a blessing in itself, I guess you could say. From the day I got out the hospital, independence was #1 on my list. And now that I have it back, it's the greatest feeling.
Having gone through 6 new sets of arms and legs over the past 6 years, Raina has become accustomed to reinventing herself, and she's also gotten quite good at defying the odds. In the spring of 2007, Raina graduated from Virginia Tech with a degree in consumer studies.
Good morning. You have your ticket?
And she landed a job as a restaurant hostess.
At work, how do people respond to you, Raina?
You know, if I go to extend my hand to shake their hand, they're just like, oh, they're, what happened? And I'll tell them what happened. They'll just be like, wow. But like, and you work here and you do all this? I'm like, yeah. Yeah, you can see that I'm 100% disabled, but the fact that they don't treat me like that makes me just love coming to work that much more the next day.
Raina's true career ambitions, though, come from an unlikely source. She says that if it weren't for her own experience with meningitis, she never would have discovered a passion for public speaking.
I think that people who hear your story have got to say to themselves, well, boy, if she can do that, then my troubles aren't worth nearly as much.
I really don't think people are really inspired with me, but the fact of this big old smile that I wear every day.
You weren't smiling when I first met you.
I wasn't.
And now?
Yeah, now it's hard to get me to stop
Yeah.
smiling. Everyone's like, stop it.
But in spite of all Raina's successes, she is still separated from the one thing that was taken away from her. Somehow, she says, she doesn't mind watching from afar.
When you go to a basketball game, does it bring back good memories, but by the same token, does it make you regret?
Regret, no, because the times I had with basketball were great. And I've come to a point in my life where I've accepted, what I am, what I have, what I haven't lost. I've accepted it all the way around. I'm officially happy.
Now, this is a great friend of mine, and let me say this. This is her video, and she shows this video when she goes out to speak. Now, 2 years ago, she got a job as a basketball coach in Virginia. She is a basketball coach now, so she has reconnected. But let me talk to you about perseverance and motivation. Perseverance and motivation. I don't know if you all understand the connection between perseverance and motivation. A lot of people have obstacles in their life. They give excuses why I can't do the things that I need to do. But I can tell you this from personal experiences, but this young lady, Raina DeBose, that you might have obstacles in your life, but you have to learn to work around them. You might not be so strong in some areas. You either get stronger or you work around them. I am here to tell you that you can do any and everything that you want to do. I am a believer. I am a believer. I have seen it in action. I'm going to ask a couple people on what your opinion was of this video, if you don't mind somebody sharing. Somebody.
What did you say? I don't know. It was insightful. Makes you take stock about what you figured was just everything up till now. And look at someone who had lost everything that she had up till then. Makes you really take stock in what you can do. And how you can change your ambitions.
That's right. What's your name?
I'm Joshua.
Joshua. Joshua said it just really makes you look at how they've lost everything and how they can overcome. I've paraphrased what you said, but I'm a believer. Anytime that I feel like I cannot do something, I watch this video. I watch this video. and it either pushes me through, or or the other side of it is that I work to find ways to get done what I need to get done. This is a motivation for me. And I stop complaining and I get it done the best way I can. It might not be pretty, but I push on through. Whether you're being a leader or whatever, finishing school, whatever you plan on doing in life, perseverance is something that you all are going to have to figure out. Working through problems all the way through, not only problems, just doing what you say you're going to do. And I know you've heard these stories before. You standing up for me? Oh, okay. And I know you've heard these stories before. You've heard them in all different ways. But I am a believer that anybody can do anything if they just put their mind to it. And that is real. Let me, does anybody have any questions about state representative and any more of what we do mess up or anything? Questions? Go ahead.
How many seats are there in the Oklahoma House?
That's a good question. He says, how many seats are in the Oklahoma House of Representatives? And I have invited everybody up. Hopefully soon we'll make it where everybody can come up to the House of Representatives. 101 people are in the Oklahoma House of Representatives. 37,000 in each district. If you take 37,000 times 101, you approximately have the population of the state of Oklahoma, which is about 3,800,000. That's approximately the state population. There's a House and a Senate. And all you social studies folks, you know that there's 3 branches of government, correct? And what are they? An executive branch. There's 2 within the House of there's a House of Representatives and there's a Senate. And in the state of Oklahoma, there is 48 senators in the state Senate. They represent about 78,000 apiece. And you're in Senate District 48. Any other questions? Did I answer your question? All right. Any other questions?
Do you know any of the Oklahoma Supreme Court justices personally?
Know several of them. I know several of them. We have several that live not far from here. Supreme Court, state of Oklahoma is unique of any other state in the United States. In most states, the highest court is Supreme Court. In Oklahoma, we have 2 high courts. It's the only state in the whole United States. It's Court of Criminal Appeals and the Supreme Court, with 2 high courts.
Ask them how many are 18 years old and has anybody voted in here yet? I'm just curious.
Has anybody voted? How many are 18? Oh, you voted? How many 18? Oh man, I should have come and brought some voter registration cards. Huh? You should vote. It's important. It's important because we affect your life. If you hadn't heard me say anything else, know that the job we do affects your life in every way you can imagine. How many 17-year-olds? Is that the end of your program? Okay. No. Go ahead, young lady.
Oh, you just asked how many 17-year-olds?
Oh, 17-year-olds. You can register to vote and vote in the next election, and you should. It is so important. If you do not vote, it's hard to complain. You're going to complain anyway, but the only way to make a change is to go out and vote for people that think like you. And how do you make sure that they go out and make sure that they do what you need is you have to have relationships with those people that you put in office. It's so important. You have to go and meet those people so they know that you exist. Any other questions?
The primaries begin.
Primaries are going to change dates this year. Typically, the primary election for president or for
presidential candidates.
I think it's April 3rd in the state of Oklahoma this year. Typically it's been in a little later, but it's changing this year. And I'm not 100% sure. I know about what date I'm elected on. I'm not sure what the presidential election is, but you still have a chance to make a change. Let me wrap up with this. Think about what your motivation is. The next time you complain, next time that you're having trouble getting out of bed to come to class, next time you're having trouble doing what doing the right thing, or making sure you study, I want you to think about Raina DeBose. And I don't want you to complain. I want you to think about her and think about the motivation. I want you to think about the importance of working hard and doing your best. Because there is a life out here. It is not easy. There's going to be things thrown at you, and it is so important that you give it your best. It's so important. And even if life throws you an obstacle, and it most likely will, you cannot allow that to become, you might stumble, but you do not have to fall. You do not have to stay down. Get up, brush yourself off, and move forward. Anything else?
Mr. Shelton, we want to thank you so much we know how valuable your time is, and it's a gift that you've given all the students here at MCA, and we just feel privileged that you come by anytime. We are one of the closest schools to you, and we want you to know we support you in their district, and we talk about you all the time. When we were over in the warehouse, Mr. Shelton came in all the time. I felt like he was part of the staff, and of course that invitation is always extended to you.
I appreciate it. I love this school. I love what they do. I love how it prepares young people, and I will continue to work to try to improve this school. And by improving this school, it improves your education, it improves the quality of teachers, it improves so much of your lives. And I'm just thankful for you all having me today. And if there's anything that I can do for you, ever, outside of getting some money from me, I'm poor. I don't have no money.
And I'm going to tell you, Mike can't ask this, but I'm going to ask it as the principal. Go home and tell your parents that Mr. Shelton, who's a very busy politician, came and spent the morning with you, and let them know, because many of your parents will be in the House voting in the next, and they need to know that this gentleman comes out and cares about their children. So you might tell them that they came. I'll do some politicking for you.
Oh, no, no, we don't want to do that. We don't want to do that.
Oh, I can.
I'm sweating, but I'm sorry.
All right. Yeah, that was some of the bells. You just need to return to your next hour.
I'm sorry that I'm ran over.
Oh, no. We can turn the bells off.
Oh.
For you.
I hear it.
Hey, very good, Mike.
That was your water, too.